We're going back to basics because food is expensive and sometimes you just need a little comfort. While going through the frozen food aisle yesterday, I came across an item that I hadn't seen in a very long time. And while I don't particularly like that frozen food, I did almost purchase it and then just decided to make it myself. Over the years, I think I've taken that stance in more ways than I'd like to. Because buying something out of a box takes all of 2 minutes, and because I'm usually not able to prioritize time, these meals that I make from scratch actually mean a lot when it comes to intention. Don't get me wrong, I will gladly buy the Salisbury Steak from Encore, but for whatever reason, because the ground meat was on sale, or maybe because I missed my family from being out of town this weekend, I thought it was really important for me to prioritize this time and make a meal that I knew at least me and my husband would enjoy. The thing about this meal is that both me and my husband didn't grow up with this being any kind of home staple. This was something we had in our schools, him in the public school system and me in the private school system. And even though we came from two very different places, it still proves the point that food really does tie us together. Now, I have made Salisbury steak before, and over the last year, I've definitely considered making this meal, but mostly I was reluctant because my kids are not used to these flavors. And if you know anything about me, it's that I absolutely hate to waste food. Now, if you have kids who are particular, you know exactly what I mean. And as much as I'd like to be the parent who says, eat what's on the plate, it's much easier said than done, at least in my home. In an effort to make a different kind of choice for dinner tonight, I chose to ask them to eat whatever I put on the plate, despite knowing that they would not like it. And I made no other foods for them to choose from. Here's the thing about theory and execution. In theory, this was an excellent idea. Thankfully, I wasn't starving, so if there were any kind of fight, I would be able to encourage them and have the patience I needed to support them in trying new foods. And while I think I executed it well enough, there were some changes we had to make to the meal that made them feel more comfortable. And I think that's the whole goal for me. I would much rather have my children have a side of avocado with salt and some tortilla chips with mashed potatoes and try the food that's on the plate than sit in a place of anxiety where they hate everything on the plate and don't actually eat any of the food I made. For the most part, I think this method has served us well. While placing no food on the plate would ruin my night, placing small portions for each child plus some things they like, but not a meal, forced them to accept their hunger and try something new, but feel safe enough to try it a little at a time. I remember sitting at a neighbor's house one time for dinner, wearing only shirt and tights at the table because my pants had gotten wet from the snow, and getting scolded for not eating broccoli and other things that were on the plate. I never want my kids to feel that way, but I also acknowledge that they don't have the palate I want them to have that might help them become a little bit healthier. And as a parent, that is a problem for me. So what I guess I mean to say is everything needs balance. Ketchup is acidic, Worcestershire sauce is savory, and Salisbury steak is delicious. While I was making this meal, I thought about things that I could pair with it, that I grew up with, and that me and my husband would enjoy. With as heavy as this meal was about to be, I figured I might as well start with some kind of vegetable. And since we don't typically keep salad in the house, we were going to have to make do with whatever I had in the pantry. I grew up eating mostly canned vegetables as a kid, be it mixed vegetables or corn or a can of green beans. And I don't know if it was because I was feeling more nostalgic or if I thought the pairing itself might be better, but for me it seemed like green beans were the way to go. I think I also thought that the kids should start eating more like me, and we can introduce these things a little at a time. I'd like to mention that when the kids were little, this was never a problem. This is a direct effect of the pandemic and a very difficult 4 years after. I like to put myself in my kids' shoes and think, if there were something new on the plate, how would I respond? 9 times out of 10, I would be anxious and uncomfortable, and I'd probably only take a small bite. So I keep those things in mind while I make their plates up and expect them only to do what they can, because these are my favorite foods. And I know that as long as we make this something easy for them to do, one day, my hope is that these will be their favorite foods too. And I think that's what any parent would want. I'm grateful that we have foods to choose from, and I'm thankful that I have a partner who will sit here with me and enjoy my dinner, and even potentially guilt trip the kids a little about how hard I worked on these meals. Because on a day when the kids only take a few bites and eat more tortilla chips than the handful they said they would, it's good to know someone's got your back and will enjoy a meal with you, even if it took an hour and a half when you said it was only going to be 30 minutes. In any event, with whatever you have, I hope you're well fed. So go buy your ground meat. We have meals to make.